Well, all right. So I wanted to wait until the end of the grand arrival to be able to give a full breakdown analysis on this fight. And here we are. What an amazing grand arrival they had going on. The Saudi Airlines commercial that they had going on. And by the way, how about the trailer? Speaking of commercials, how about the trailer that they had for Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury? If you look at it, it looked like a horror movie. And by the way, that's exactly what the Saudis are going for, sort of like a Hollywood cinematic type of reaction from people's interest into this fight. Obviously, the second time around. So here we are, fast forward into the day of the grand arrival, which is today. And the Saudi airline thing was great. It had a 1980s look behind it because if you remember anything about traveling in the Middle East in the 1980s, especially with all these planes that were being shot down in Scotland and then Gaddafi and this and that, it was quite an interesting choice to bring that nostalgic look back. But nonetheless, hey, the one thing that the 80s sort of represented was all of these things that we are sort of seeing right now: great fights, great action, and everything in between, right? So, going into the full breakdown of this fight. Now, I wrote right there on the thumbnail, it's a different fight. Let me explain a couple of reasons why it's going to be a different fight. Obviously, the weight of Tyson Fury was the conversation into this whole entire matter at hand. And what exactly does all of that mean that his weight is going to be a lot bigger than it was previously? Well, obviously, Tyson Fury's entire game is predicated on being able to have great footwork, great speed, which, by the way, Alexander Usyk has and then some. So, what do you do to counter that? Well, maybe perhaps you use size. Maybe you use your width. Maybe you use your height that you are God gifted with. And why didn't he do that in the first fight? Well, obviously, because once again, Alexander Usyk's footwork is just a whole lot better than Tyson Fury on that particular end. Well, this is what he has to do. He has to do something different, sort of similar to what had happened in the first Deontay Wilder fight. What exactly happened in the Deontay Wilder fight? A lot of people are afraid to move forward on Deontay Wilder. Now, why is it that Tyson Fury wasn't? Well, the reason was because he understood for a fact that, hey, you know what? I'm the bigger guy. And maybe my shots are going to hurt a whole lot harder if I hit him with it. Now, look, can you imagine Tyson Fury coming in here nearly 300 pounds? He said that he is coming in here at 291 pounds. What exactly does that tell you? That tells you that this guy right here is looking to drop bombs and not dance around like he normally would in some of his fights, such as the Klitschko fight, which, by the way, till this date, probably one of the greatest performances of Tyson Fury's life. Now, everybody wants to make assumptions about Alexander Usyk, especially Tyson Fury. He calls him a middleweight. Well, did he look much of a middleweight in the first fight? And the answer is no. He did not look like a middleweight at all. He looked like a seasoned heavyweight. In fact, Alexander Usyk has been a heavyweight for quite some time now, and within that time frame, he sort of adjusted into allowing his skills to develop into his new size. Which, by the way, kind of brings me back into John Jones in the conversation of the UFC, right? I wonder, why did he take so long to get to the heavyweight fights? Now, obviously, there are talks of contract negotiations. There's talks of just wanting to get paid more. There's talks of just trying to negotiate with the UFC and playing them bluff, which is, by the way, what he did for this Tom Aspinall fight. And fair play to him. But with all of those things into consideration, what else sort of made him hesitant to jump into the heavyweight division? Well, the answer to that is quite simply because of the fact that John Jones wanted to develop his body into being a heavyweight. In other words, you ever heard of these stories that a lot of people said about John Jones in the training room, right? Which is that, hey, you know what? In the training room, he's beating up all these heavyweights: Brendan Schaub, Shane Carwin, Matt Mitrione. The list goes on with all these top heavyweights that he was in there with, right? Alistair Overeem, Frank Mir, all of these guys. He's beating up all of these guys as he was a light heavyweight. Well, not that I've ever seen any of these sparring footages, unless you are a member of Team Greg Jackson, but you would think that the reason why John is beating these guys up is probably because of the striking, right? And that's just my own assumption. Now, he probably needed the size in order to somehow fit himself into the heavyweight category of the grappling aspects of things. Now, look at what he did with Cyril Gahn. He took him down with ease and then he submitted him with ease. With ease. Now, did the heavyweight weightlifting, powerlifting sessions of John Jones sort of help that? Absolutely, it did. So as a result, uh, Alexander Usyk right now is sort of trying to get ready for the weight of Tyson Fury because he knows that in the second time around, he's going to try and move forward, try and not really fight off the back foot. Will Tyson Fury have moments where he fights off the back foot in this? Yes, absolutely. He has a lot of moments where he's going to do that. But the reality of this situation is that I think Tyson Fury is going to move forward. And this could be very dangerous for Alexander Usyk because we've never really seen anybody challenge him moving forward and somebody at this size. Because you got to understand the first fight, how Tyson Fury went about it was that he was trying to match him with boxer for boxer, technique for technique, footwork for footwork. And I don't know if that's going to work. And it certainly didn't because there were times where Alexander Usyk found openings in there. And as a result of finding those openings, it knocked Tyson Fury down to everybody's surprise. Okay. He knocked him down a few times, actually. And you know what? The other aspect of this conversation is fitness. Who is the most fit guy between them? Obviously, I'm going to say Alexander Usyk. Look, the Eastern Europeans, man, they do not miss a step when it comes to fitness. In fact, it is fitness all year round. The life of an American athlete, in particular, the life of a Western athlete, states is this: we're going to train 12 weeks into a training camp, go into a fight, and then we're going to party for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And the next thing you know, these fighters go and gain weight, like the likes of Patty Pimblett and Ricky Hatton, right? Is that sustainable for a long time? Well, for Patty's case, he seems to be doing okay right now, at least in his UFC career, right? Let's see how long that lasts. Or will he switch up and just live the life of living healthy all year round and being focused on your craft, right? Because obviously Patty Pimblett is now moving into the top uh 10 of the divisions now. So yeah, I think it's time to hone in, right? Well, guess what, man? Championship level, amateur level. By the way, 300 fights amateur for Alexander Usyk. And guess what? He's held it together. He stayed consistent. He stays in the training room. He stays studying his technique. I think that right there is going to be enough, quite honestly, to win this whole entire fight. Yes, because there is a world where I see Tyson Fury coming in reckless, coming in trying to press on his weight between the ropes, right? Holding Alexander Usyk down, trying to zap his energy with all his weight. Basically, if you've ever seen the Dylan White and the Joseph Parker fight, it's very similar to that, right? He used a lot of wrestling to win fights. And that's something a lot of people don't realize is that you can win fights in boxing with wrestling or use it as some sort of countermeasure. Now, Anthony Joshua was known to have worked with British Olympic wrestlers to work on his clinch. Also, Alexander Usyk has mentioned that he's worked on some wrestling for this fight as a fitness regimen, not so much as maybe, yeah, maybe a little bit of both, obviously, because there's going to be some certain clinching involved that is legal in boxing that can be transferred over into wrestling and MMA. So, speaking of which, obviously we have a little bit of some MMA talk along mixing with this boxing talk. But look at this. This is the belt that they have for this fight right here, the WBC belt. If you look at it closely, let's see here. It says Rumble in the Jungle, Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury 2. So that's the 50th anniversary. Okay. So that is the 50th anniversary. Look at that. That belt kind of looks like a Prince Nas type of yeah, like it's the same trunks that Prince Nas has, but I think it sort of symbolizes the jungle obviously being a leopard where the fight had taken place in Zaire with George Foreman and Ali. So this is another one right here. So another one of these classics. So yeah, man, big ups to the Saudis for being able to put up all of these fights and bring these big matchups. And by the way, here's another thing that I think is really interesting about boxing right now with the Saudis in play, right? A lot of these guys that would normally protect their record right now, they are sacrificing their records for the bag. And guess what? As fans, as hardcore fans, we love it. We absolutely love it. It is amazing, absolutely amazing that we could have that opportunity to see all of these top matchups in boxing because guess what? This is something year in and year out the UFC has emphasized over the years. And by the way, now that this is basically one of the last major fights of 2024, the Tyson Fury and the Usyk rematch, maybe we might do a review of UFC's year 2024 and go from there. Maybe do it on a separate video. But for this video, I think this is going to be a different fight. I'm going to tell you right now, I do not see a finish coming into this fight. I think that Tyson Fury is very durable, but I think that he's not going to allow certain chances to allow him to get hit the way that he did in Deontay Wilder fight, the way that he did in the Usyk fight. None of that. I don't think that he's going to allow any of these small mistakes that he's made in the past that got him knocked down. So as a result of that, I think Usyk is going to have a tougher fight in his hands, but I also think Tyson Fury is always going to have a tough fight in his hands with Alexander Usyk, just like with anybody else. A man who has fought 300 fights in his amateurs, undisputed in cruiserweight, and then moving up to heavyweight and doing the same thing. This is a very difficult man to defeat. But can he defeat him? Well, he can. But I think it's going to take a lot out of Tyson Fury in this fight to do so. I'm really excited to see how this fight is going to go. I'm going to have to go with my final decision on this one. Uh, I think that Alexander Usyk is going to win this by decision. That is my final prediction on this fight. That is my review for the Grand Arrival. I am going to be doing a live reaction to this fight on this channel, so tap right in, and I will see you guys in the next content, in the next live stream, and everything to come, inshallah.